Hello, this is Gold Group 1. We're going to be presenting Mastering Electronic Commerce in terms of Zara. We'll look at the company and then we'll look at the way they use electronic commerce to be successful. Zara is a fashion company founded in the 70s in Spain. It belongs to Inditex, which is one of the world's largest apparel companies. They show up in 88 countries with over 2,000 stores and 16 billion in sales. It's known as a company that uses e-commerce very successfully. There are three different approaches you can use generally in e-commerce: drop, centralized, and mixed. Drop is sort of the eBay form where you don't own anything, but you can order from the storefront and then it gets shipped to you by whomever is selling it. Centralized is just about every other commerce you can buy: Apple, J.Crew, Nike. If you order online, they'll deliver it to your home. And then mixed is something more Amazon-esque, where they have things, but they also allow people to sell it to them. Zara only sells their own clothes from their own site, and that's where you buy them directly, so they're considered centralized. They do everything on their own, and they sell everything directly to you, either from your home or you can pick it up at a store near your location. In terms of Rappa's models, although there are 10, looking at the way Zara is set up, the two that are most appropriate are the merchant model, which means you either do click and mortar, where you can have a traditional brick and mortar establishment as well as a web storefront, or where you can just do it completely online or over the phone. Zara also is really effective at using the community model, and it's part of what makes people so loyal to them. You can have a lot of feedback that comes from people in the store, which means that the things that are sold there are very personalized, very regional, and very unique to the shoppers that patronize that particular location. They've traditionally sold through a brick and mortar store. In 2010, Zara added an online website. They were behind many of their competitors and realized they needed to step it up. In doing that, they became both an online and ground catalog merchant, and they also continue to use the community model. One of their biggest strengths is brand loyalty and the customer input that they get, which we'll talk about later, and it allows them to create consumer demanded products. Some of the secrets to Zara's online success have been using technology internally and externally. Externally, they do this by combining an in-store and online shopping experience. You can return things online or in the store. You can buy things online or in the store. If you see something that's not there, you can order it and have it delivered at home or to the store, and vice versa. Further, the website is fairly user-friendly, and it allows you to see how something is going to fit on you and get sort of a semi-in-store experience while you're at home. Internally, because Zara has such a tight in-house supply chain, they can respond to sudden changes, they can quickly produce what's needed, and they can track an inventory down to really specific items and know exactly where something is and how to get it to the person who wants it. Taking a closer look, the challenge with fashion is that sometimes if you try to be everything, you end up being nothing. I think that's pretty universal for all things. And one of the things that Zara has had is the challenge that their margins are eaten in part by the shipping and return costs that come from doing online work. Zara was late, only beginning in 2010. Their biggest competitor adds about 4,000 styles a week to their online store, and so Zara couldn't sit out any longer. They needed to take action, and so they began to. In doing that, it meant that they had to increase the cost of shipping, and they also lost the interaction, because online, regardless of how much you can specify what the item is, you're still not seeing the faces of your consumers, and you're still not certain who is getting what and why and how they're really responding to what they're being shown and what they buy or end up returning. Zara had low shipping costs because they were able to keep their warehouses close to their consumers. They kept their supply chain very tight, and doing e-commerce naturally expands this. It also prevents them from being able to really update their design and styling. They need to be able to provide a unique online experience. They've tried hard to do that, to mirror the experience in their stores. They are very effective at collecting their data. The question is how to get the data. They've been able to provide an experience which gives other buyers a unique presence. They can really drill into what the item's going to look like for their particular body type, which is something that not every retailer online is able to offer them. 6 years after entering the market, Zara is selling online in 45 countries. They still struggle with the fast shipping and see competitors such as Amazon Fashion making it difficult for them to really not lose that type of margin that they're used to being able to carry. They recognize the potential of the online platform. They make the most of the data that's collected using systems that we'll talk about in the future, and they do continue to meet consumer demand. They haven't had any e-commerce mistakes per se, and certainly nothing that we could find when we did our research, but they just don't get the shipping speed, and they still struggle with the cost. One of the things that they're really good at is being able to be selective with their technology use and using it really effectively. They also choose the way that they're going to incorporate the technology, and they keep their design team close, their marketing team close, their production line, and their data analysis all in-house, so that they're really able to stay on top of what's good, what's bad, what needs to be updated, and always have new product on hand. Because they own their supply chain, they can do small batched items. They have 85% of their capacity is able to adjust as needed. Only 15 to 25% of a season's line is ordered in advance, and they obtain their fabric locally, which means they can dye it to suit the colors that come in. They are able to use 3 primary types of technology: point of sale, which allows them to do automated inventory adjustments with real-time information. It doesn't necessarily provide them with a competitive edge, because that's something that their competitors can do. What it does do is allow them to really analyze it carefully, and they are very, very effective at being able to get to the next item because of their tight in-house supply chain. When they use the RFID, they can be highly responsive to their end user. Competitors have a tough time being able to imitate this, because it's just impossible for most companies to be able to have that close a connection to the item once it's created all the way into the hand of the consumer. And finally, Zara's customer service people in the stores have iPads from which they gather information. They do this customer facing work, which allows them to triangulate the data that they get from point of sale and also from the RFID, so that they can react to consumer preferences and let each store become a reflection of that community's fashion desires. Even though Zara is fairly new to the game of online sales, they're very good at integrating their technology through their manufacturing, their supply, and their logistics. They do just-in-time production, and they have all of their manufacturing costs. In Europe, they're able to do fast turnaround by keeping 60% of the manufacturing in their house. They make most of their own fabric. They dye through their subsidiaries and only do it half of the time, so that they can respond to shifts as they come in. They are able to do bi-weekly replenishment of in-store, so it's really never the same store twice, and it encourages people to go back and return regularly to see what's new, because they know that if it's not bought then, it's not going to be around later. In terms of e-commerce operations, they're able to do that on the website, in store, through a mobile app, and social media. Their website is in their 45 countries. You can pick it up wherever you would like. In 2016, there was a 13% growth of sales online. If you can't buy something in a store, you can order it online and have it delivered, or you can order it as you walk out the store and decide that you actually want it and have it delivered. You can go back to the store and pick it up. You can order it from your mobile app, in store, elsewhere. They can be delivered where you would like them, store or home. And then you can also order it from social media. They have a strong social media presence, and you can select it as you see it and based on others' recommendations. They use technology to manage their customer expectations by constantly being focused on delivering updated fashion to their stores. They integrate their data collection from their customers and through online conversations and media, and they also use social media third platforms. Competitors are primarily from H&M, Forever 21, Gap, Topshop, and Mango. In the US, we probably see H&M, Forever 21, Gap, and Mango more than we do Topshop. These, you can see Zara is sort of in the middle in terms of age, but some of the advantages they have is the fact that they have so much of their supply chain that they own, and so they can be more agile and responsive to trends. It keeps their costs lower. It lets them know what's going to be there, and their limited inventory means that there's a sense of scarcity. Consumers know that if they see it, they need to buy it, because if you go back, it's not going to be there. And that lets Zara keep higher prices and also reduces the need to have sales. And in fact, Zara rarely, if ever, has any sales. You can see Zara has 4 to 6 annual cycles of fashion, which is far larger than their competitors, which are still traditional fashion, doing biannual cycles. They have limited inventory at the stores. Even online, it's going to be limited because they do small batch production. So it's going to be available for 2 weeks and then move out, whereas their competitors, you'll see it there all season. Most of the design ends up being in-house, whereas their competitors use third parties. And the internal data is also maintained in-house, so that means that they can track customer preferences and see what's happening where and what they need to do to meet those demands. The webpage itself is appealing, modern, functional, clean, much like many of the clothes that they're selling. You can see their homepage has a rolling picture, so they're trending toward young, vibrant people who are looking for fast fashion. Their search is easy to find. It's in the upper right hand corner. You can get to it quickly and find what you want, what you're looking for, etc. You can see that they are looking for different items, whether you want particular gender topics or you're going to give gifts. You want to see what's new, and of course, knowing that things are new every 2 weeks or so means that that's the current trend that they're aging for. And then you can see here an example of the descriptions as well as the model who's there, so you can understand what it might look like when you wear it. The big question is what's going to happen in the future. And just as there are many strengths Zara has, there are also a few weaknesses. They have the in-house supply chain, but that also means that they're dependent on all their internal shipping. And if something goes wrong, then it's going to go wrong quickly and badly, and it's going to affect all of it because it's all within their own house. They have a growing online market and they're very responsive to their customers, but at the same time, the costs that are related to the shipping is going to cause a problem unless they can figure out how to address it, because it's just too overwhelming in order to maintain a competitive edge. Recommendations that we have are the fact that without the immediate feedback from the customers and because of the increased shipping time and cost, these need to be addressed if they're going to be successful. We would recommend that they increase online data collection, looking for consumer surveys about what they like or don't like regarding certain items. 1 or 2 question pop-ups maybe can be able to capture what might be missing from a face-to-face and forward-facing consumer feedback. Looking to create a shipping relationship with DHL in Europe or FedEx or UPS here in the US to allow for pickup or delivery options that might reduce freight costs, time lag, and also just the effort at the stores. Maybe you can pick it up at a UPS store instead, or a locker like Amazon does. And then finally, considering loyalty points that come from an in-store pickup, encouraging visits there instead of the cost that would be incurred by sending it to an individual house. Loyalty points could also be something that they could do for customer surveys and might maintain some of that feedback that would encourage the level of interactivity that might be missed from an otherwise face-to-face exploration. We'd love to have your feedback. Of course, this is recorded, so you can email us if you have topics or something that you think might be interesting. And enclosed are our sources. Thank you for your attention.